my name's Hideout and welcome back to the frozen and bitter wastes of Kaldheim. The nightmarish plane where everything's frozen and gods walk the earth. How terrible. But today we're dealing with a rather deadly man. It's Fynn, the Fangbearer, who's 2 mana for a 1/3 and he has Death Touch. Deadly. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. There's nothing more fun than poison, is there really? Everyone loves it. It's a really, well-respected and loved mechanic. But attaching it to Death Touch, makes it even better in my opinion. Really, really cool. The artwork on this card is fantastic. Look at him with his big axe, just chop, chop, chop. And then there's all sorts of gubbins going on in the background. I really like it. This deck is quite cool, People have a bad stigma against Infect, and, well, for good reason. People don't want to lose too quickly in EDH, but this is a really cool card. It essentially gives all of your creatures quadruple strike, because you're going to be playing Death Touch, and Death Touch creatures aren't the best in the world. If you like these videos, please do consider subscribing. I'm going to make one of these for every single legendary creature ever printed. And Fynn is one in a long line of that. So please subscribe and join me for the journey. Without further ado, let's get to number 5. And at number 5, we have Plaguemere. So obviously we want to play a couple of Infect creatures because, yes, Death Touch is cool and giving our opponents poison counters that way, but why don't we pad that out with a couple of Infect cards? And Plaguemere is one of the best. It's a Mia with Infect, which means it deals damage to a creature in form of -1/-1 counters, and to players in the form of poison counters. And you can tap it to add a generic mana. And it's a 1/1, so pretty damn good. It's ramp, nice early body. Maybe you can pump it, buff it a bit. Maybe give it Death Touch, so you're dealing 3 Infect. Ooh, crazy. But this is a really cool card, and it works excellently with a couple of other Infect cards. Glistener Elf, 1 mana for a 1/1 with Infect. Simple, need you no more. It's just an Infect creature. You can get down on turn 1 and just start hitting in, getting those Infect counts on our opponents. Then we've got Putrifacts. This can easily end a game. 5 mana for a 5/3 with Trample and Haste and Infect. But at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Putrifacts. So this is a great game ender. We can just put this down, swing straight at an opponent. If they're on 5 Infect and they don't have any blockers, well, they're dead. And we can potentially pump it quite a lot because even if they have a blocker, it has Trample, so it can get through for a ton of Infect damage. Then we've got Viridian Corrupter, 3 mana for a 2/2 with Infect. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact. Now, artifacts are one of the most powerful things in Magic. We've got Soul Rings, we've got Jinxed Idols, things like that. They're absolutely fantastic, and this can blow it up for just 3 mana. So it's a nice follow-up play after you've played Fynn on 2. Really good. Then Frixion Swarmlord, absolutely fantastic creature. 6 mana for a 4/4 with Infect. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 green insect creature token with Infect onto the battlefield for each poison counter opponents have. That's absolutely fantastic. We're spreading the Infect around. One of the major issues with Infect is you really target someone down and then you don't kill them. They're just sat on 9 Infect. It's like nothing's happened. But if you spread it around, this gets us a ton of little dudes that can then spread it around to everyone else. Really, really nice. Then Pistus Strike? Pistus? 3 mana for an instant. Destroy a target creature with flying. Its control gets a poison counter. This is a nice little way of, giving people a poison counter that, doesn't really center around combat damage because eventually people are going to have blockers, and this is a good way that you could maybe finish someone off on 9 Infect. Then we have Core Prowler, 4 mana for a 2/2 with Infect. When it's put into your graveyard from the battlefield, Proliferate. Proliferate's a wonderful mechanic. It allows you to put another counter on any permanent or any player. So poison counters are, in fact, counters on a player, and we can keep stacking them up until we kill somebody. Which brings me on to number 4. Speaking of Proliferate, Evolution Sage is a 3 mana 3/2 Elf Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Proliferate. This is absolutely incredible. A lot of green ramp centered around lands. So even if we draw a ramp spell, we're going to be applying some Infect using this. We can Proliferate on our opponents. Yes, we have to get that initial Infect on, but it's a really cool card that can end the game. Then we've got a couple of other ones here. Contagion Class, 2 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Then you can proliferate. So this can act as removal. We can proliferate the infect counters, but also the -1/-1 counter can slowly build up and maybe kill a commander. Then we've got Plane-Wide Celebration, 7 mana, which is pretty steep, but it's a sorcery where you choose 4. You can choose the same more than once. Create a 2/2 citizen creature token that's all colours. Return target permanent card from the graveyard to your hand. Proliferate or gain 4 life. So 7 mana, we can proliferate 4 times. If everyone's on 6 infect, we've just killed everyone with this big dumb spell. Or you can make a bunch of blockers, return your infect cards from your graveyard, gain 16 life. I mean, that's pretty weak, but you can do it anyway. Then there's Khan's Bastion, a land that proliferates. Absolutely fantastic to have this in your toolbox. Absolutely no loss in tempo because it comes in untapped. Brilliant card to put into the deck. Then we've got Voronclex, Monstrous Raider. 6 mana for a 6/6 with Trample and Haste. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of those counters on that permanent or player instead. And then if an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or a player, they put half that many. Really, really good. Works excellently with Infect. If this is on the field, an Infect creature deals damage, we're going to be dealing double. You know, if our Death Touches deal, we're going to be putting 4 on. Absolutely wonderful card. Then Contagion Engine, 6 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls. And that's absolutely all of them. You know, pew, 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 loads of minuses. And then we can pay 4 and tap it to proliferate. Then proliferate again. A wonderful sentence, absolutely fantastic. Can really churn out those infect counters. Then we've got Courage in Crisis. 3 mana for a sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, then proliferate. Sadly, this isn't an instant, but it does allow us to pump up our infect creatures and then proliferate as well. So it's +2/+2 to a creature and then proliferate everything else, which is pretty decent. Which brings me on to number 3. And Fynn really cares about Death Touch, so let's give everything Death Touch. Oran Frostfang is a 5 mana 2/6 attacking creature you control of Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Drawing a card is one of the best things you can do in Magic, and this can really help you churn through your deck, get all of that value, and because everything's going to have Death Touch, we're going to be assigning tons of poison counters to our opponents. Then we've got Oakheim Adversary. 4 mana for a 2/3. The spell costs 2 less if your opponent controls green permanent. A lot of people play green, so it's pretty much always going to cost 2 mana. Then it has Death Touch, and when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So it's a Death Touch attacker. If your opponents block it, whatever creature they throw in front of it's going to die because of Death Touch. When it deals damage, you're going to get them 2 counters and draw a card. Absolutely fantastic value. Then we've got Bow Annihilator, very similar to the card up at the front, the Viper. 3 mana for a legendary enchantment artifact. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Nice. Then you can pay 2, tap it, and choose one of these 4 options. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Really good if you're wanting to focus down one specific infect creature. Deals 2 damage to target creature with flying. You gain 3 life. Or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard to the bottom of your library in any order. So, can protect a bit of graveyard, gain some life. It does all the things you want it to do. But the main thing you want is all of that Death Touch. Then we've got Hornet Queen, 7 mana for a 2/2 with flying and Death Touch. Flying's excellent, allows us to get in and really chip away with all that infect. When it enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and Death Touch. So by itself, that's enough bodies with our commander on the field to just kill someone with infect. Because it's 5 bodies, 10 infect. Brilliant. Then Questing Beast, amazing card. 4 mana for a 4/4 with Vigilance, Death Touch and Haste. Nice bit of evasion in the fact that it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that will be dealt by creature control can't be prevented. So if someone tries to get a bit clever and, fogs or, constant mists you, well, Questing Beast got your back. Whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to a target planeswalker that player controls. So absolutely fantastic for dealing with planeswalkers as well. It does all sorts of things. And then a little sub-theme that you could build into the deck is Deathmist Raptor and Megamorph and Morph. 3 mana for a Death Toucher, Dinosaur Beast. Whenever an opponent you control turned face up, you may return Death Raptor from your graveyard to the battlefield face up or face down. And then it's 5 mana to Megamorph it. So it's a 3/3, but when you Megamorph it, it comes in 1/1 counter. And it's a 4/4. Nice little 4/4 Death Toucher that you can rebuy by playing things like Den Protector. 2 mana for a 2/1. Creatures with power less than Den Protector's power can't block. You can Megamorph it for 2, so it becomes a 3/2, and you unflip it. And when it is turned face up, return target card from a graveyard to your hand. Absolutely fantastic. Rebuys any of your vital pieces, and it can rebuy Death Raptor as well. Which brings me on to number 2. And this card is... it works really well with both the Death Touch aspect and the Infect aspect. It's Ruthless Instincts. 3 mana for an instant. Choose one. Target non-attacking creature gains reach and Death Touch till end of turn. Untap it. So we can give something Death Touch, defend ourselves. And then target attacking creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Absolutely fantastic for punching through with Death Touch damage, because trample and Death Touch work fantastically. You only have to assign 1 damage to whatever's blocking. And then all of the rest tramples over because that is lethal damage. And it gives it trample, so we can really kill someone with all of our Infect nonsense. Similar to this, we've got Wasteland Viper. We are going to be playing a few things that don't have Death Touch, so this is a great card for giving them Death Touch. 1 green for a snake. It's got Death Touch, and you can Blood Rush it for a single green and discard it from your hand. Target attacking creature gets +1/+2 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. So you can really surprise someone out of nowhere. Look at that little coiling snake. Absolutely great. And it is just a Death Touch you can play on turn 1, play your commander turn 2, and get in for 2 Infect straight away. Then, another great anthem here, Chroma's Memorial, 7 mana for a legendary artifact. Creature control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black and red. Absolutely great, can really get in with the flying, and the vigilance is great with Death Touch, because, and first strike actually, first strike and Death Touch, no one's ever going to be able to kill your creatures in combat. Brilliant, and then the protection just gets through a bunch of different flyers. Then, God Eternal Ronus is cool in the deck. 5 mana for a 5/5 with Death Touch, so, fits the bill for Fynn. When it enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Then, if it dies, you put it on the top 3, blah, 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 blah. The main thing is you can pump up your entire team and really just swing in there, and the vigilance is fantastic. So then you've got a bunch of Death Touch blockers for the swing back. Then, Triumph of the Hordes, classic card. Miserable card. 4 mana for a sorcery. Until end of turn, creature you control get +1/+1. Again, trample and infect. So we can have Death Touch, trampling, infectors, and just absolutely go all over the place with our big massive army of dudes. Overrun, very similar effect. 5 mana for a sorcery. Creature control gets +3/+3 and again trample until end of turn. The trample is really key here with Death Touch. It just works so well. Then we've got Creative Behemoth. 8 mana for a 5/5 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, creature control gain trample and +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. This is an absolute house. You're going to want to be tutoring for this because it's just going to end games, regardless of if you've got Infect or Death Touch Infect. You will just deal a ton of damage to your opponents. Which brings me on to my number 1 pick. And in number 1, well, we want to get in for damage. Yes, we can pump everything up, but why don't we force our opponents to block? Blood Scent is a 4 mana instant. All creatures able to block target creature's turn do so. That artwork is amazing. Look at how repulsive he is. I don't like to bash on people, but dear God, what is going on with his head? I love it. It just looks like a massive ball sack. Brilliant. This is a great card, not only because, you can target one of your Death Touches and then swing in with it and all of your other Death Touches, and their opponent is forced to block all of this. That is just wonderful, but you can do it on your opponent's creatures as well. So if you've got a particularly problematic creature on your opponent's side, you can use it as removal. It's great, and it's just such a cool lure effect. Speaking of lure, wow. 3 mana for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. All creatures able to block enchanted creature do so. Again, this just punches through a ton of damage and you can really swing in for lethal. Then we've got Roar of Challenge. 3 mana for a sorcery. All creatures able to block target creature this turn, do so. Then you've got Ferocious. That creature gains indestructible until the end of the turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Now, a lot of death touches aren't very big, so the likelihood that you're going to have Ferocious isn't all that great, but it's a nice little added bonus, and this can just be a board wipe in and of itself. Alluring Scent, again, 3 mana for a sorcery. All creatures able to block target creature's turn, do so. So you can just push through for loads of damage. And those are my top 5 picks for Fynn. He's a really cool commander, you know, Death Touch, Infect, Tribal. It's a bit weird, but it really works quite well. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do subscribe and, you know, like, comment, all that sort of stuff. I'll see you soon. Bye.